Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the Webflow input enhancer and walking you through how you can set it up and use it. In this video we'll cover three things. First off, how you can install the extension, then how to set up the enhanced inputs, and third, how you can configure drop-down options for advanced functionality. So let's dive in. First off, let's install the Webflow input enhancer. So you're going to hop over to the Chrome Web Store and you can just search for Webflow input enhancer here and it will pop it up. And so you're going to go there and just make sure that you have this installed and added to Chrome. And then once you do that, we can hop over to Webflow and make sure this is set up and running correctly. So once we're here in Webflow, you're just going to want to grab a component that you have and just click on it, and you should see, if everything's been installed correctly, you'll see this little icon here saying that properties are enhanced with the Webflow input enhancer. So as long as you see that, everything should be working properly and you're ready to start setting up enhanced inputs. So I'm going to just be doing this from scratch. I have a brand new, just fresh build, nothing crazy going on here. And so I've just created this very basic component. It really is just some basic structure and a heading in there. We aren't going to be doing anything too crazy, but I'll just be showing you examples so you can see how this can work, and you can use your imagination to see how you could do this on so many different use cases. So one of the first things I'm going to do here is show how the enhanced style property works. So what we're going to do here is add a style property to the section. To do that, I'm actually going to need to convert this to a custom element because that allows us to add this style property as an attribute. So I'm going to go here and add style, and then I will connect this to a component property. So we'll call this section styles. And then the one thing you need to do here to make sure that the extension works properly is you need to add in brackets style, and this is going to tell the input enhancer to enhance this input and give us some more editability there. So I'm going to create that property and call it good. And so now once that's been created, you'll notice the extension does a couple things. We'll see those brackets there. That's going to tell us that this can accept inline CSS, and really we could write any CSS we want here for that section, or I could connect that style element to any div or item inside of the component. So custom elements are super powerful just because you can connect them to the style property, and you have full power to edit any instance using inline CSS. So for example here, if I wanted to add the background, I could start typing in, and you'll notice right away the extension is giving us some really awesome suggestions. So autocorrect for those class properties. So I'm going to add a background, and then I could just start typing in any hex code here. That makes the background black. But the cool thing here is this also links into variables. So if I type in var, I can see all the variables in my project, and it pulls those in so I could use those. So if I look for like color, let's go var color, and then we'll do background primary. I think that one was right. So let's do secondary. There we go. And that just changed our color there. So that's really handy if you want to use styles to edit anything. The nice thing here is you don't need to add any sort of semicolons or anything like that. The input enhancer handles that for you. You can also just click enter and then start typing a new line. You don't need to do anything else. So let's say I wanted to add some margin to this, margin top. I could just add 2 rem, and you'll notice we got some margin there. So that's really powerful right there. Next up, we've got classes. So if we wanted to do a similar thing here and create a class property for the section, I would just go in here to the properties, add the name class, and then connect this to a property. So we'll call this section classes, and then we just need to do the same thing here in brackets, add the word class. That tells the extension that we're adding classes here, and then we can create that. Once we're done, we will notice the extension does a couple things. It hides that word in brackets so it stays cleaner, and adds the paintbrush icon to let us know that this is a class property. Once you've done that, we can now also add classes here, and the extension is going to recommend classes that it sees in the project. So in this case, if we wanted to add a background color, let me clear out this first just so I don't get that. So let's say I want to make that background color secondary. I have a class for that, so that works. Or I could, go back here, and I've also got black, so I could do that. And then on top of that, if I want to add another class here, I could go to text color primary or secondary. Let's see if that one's white. Anyway, I could add like a text color class there that would inherit down. But in this case, we will just clear that out. So those are the two first really powerful ways that you can use the extension. It's super nice to be able to have those class suggestions, and it's great for clients as well when they're working with that, because it's just really confusing to know what even are your options, and it's easy to mistype them. So onto the third part of the video, and I think what's my favorite and most powerful is being able to configure drop-down options in components. And so I'll walk you through the way you can do that. It takes just a few extra steps, and then you can have really nice drop-down properties there. So for this case, we are going to be hooking this up to the heading, and we are going to use the class attribute on the heading. So we are going to be applying, like our heading style H1, H2 here. So I'm going to create this, and I will call this heading size, and then I just need to add here. And we'll create this in a little bit, but you're going to need to add in the brackets. We want this to be a drop down, so we will add drop down equals and then an ID. At this point, I can just make that up. I'm going to call this headings, and let me make sure that I got that right. I'm missing a bracket. So that's how it should look, and then we can create that. So what you'll notice here first is we don't have any options here, and that's because we need to create that. So to create drop-down options, we just need to create a small component that will live on the site. It doesn't have to be on the page or anything, it just needs to be a new component. So I will create here a new section on the page, and within that, I'm just gonna give this a name to keep it clean. We'll call this drop-down options, and I will just give this some padding. And let me add one more div here just to keep this clean. We'll call this drop down, and then we'll add a paragraph in here. So really all that is needed here is that you have a paragraph, and within this is where you're going to list out your options. So I'm going to list out my classes here: heading style H1, heading style H2, heading style H, and so on. I'm just going to do those three for now, and then for this, all we need to do is go to that paragraph, and we will add a custom attribute here of IE-ID, and then we need to name this with the same ID that we did in that property. So in this case, we will call that headings. And so now that we've got those headings in there, we just need to create this in component. And so I'm going to just go here and create this as a component. And this is really the only thing that's important here. This just needs to be named IE_config so that the extension will recognize that. And then once I've done that, I can just refresh, and those options will now show up in the property. So let me just refresh the page here, and then I can delete this component. I don't need it. And what you'll see here is that when I click on this heading size prop, I now see those three options there. So we've got all of those, and we can use those to toggle through the heading sizes. So this is super nice, and it's really nice because at a moment's notice, you can always just add that IE_config component and edit or add new drop downs there. So in this case, if I wanted to fill it out and add another one, I could add that, and then I can go back here, and I just would need to refresh again, and you would see the heading style H4. So this is really handy for being able to create components that are easy for clients to use, and also easy for you as a developer to work with and use as well. So lastly, that's kind of the core of it. I want to show you a couple other really cool things that you can do, especially with this drop-down property. One thing that you can do here is you can also create key value pair lists. So what we can do here is we can just duplicate this paragraph, and we're going to create this a little bit different way. In this case, maybe it's a little annoying to a client that they see the dashes. Maybe it's not as clear. What we can do is just type h1 equals, and then heading style h1, h2 equals, and then we will do h3 equals, and h4 equals. So what we're doing is we're basically creating a key value pair here. This is the text that will show up. This is the text that will actually be applied in the property. So after this, I can just close out and once again make sure that change is saved, and then I'll refresh the page. So just make sure that's saved. There we go. And now if we go in here, we can, I forgot I need to delete this one because they have the same ID. So now if we go in here, we can notice that we get these much cleaner H1, H2, H3, H4, but at the end of the day, it's just referring back to these key value pairs. So that's super powerful. This also works, like a great use case for this would be if you're using the style prop and you don't want the clients to have to really see any CSS there. You can use the style prop plus the key value pair and create preset options, just labeled names like small, medium, large, but corresponding to those you have CSS that's written and injected for that. So those are really powerful. So hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. We're really excited to see what you can come up with and do with the Webflow Input Enhancer extension. Check out a few other use cases down below. We have things like number validation, email validation, which are a little less common to use, but can be really, really helpful as well there. So anyway, thanks.